Good evening. Welcome and thank you all for being here. I call the special meeting of the Town Plan, Zoning and Commission to order on Tuesday, October 21st, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. My name is Jeff Kennedy. And I'm the acting chair of the Woodbridge Town Planning and Zoning Commission. Other members of the commission with us tonight are Paul Schatz, Ben Cherry, Aaron Hoffman, Robert Wesnia, and Kathleen Hunter. Thank you very much for coming. We are, as we usually are, ably supported by the resourceful Chris Sullivan, our town land use analyst and zoning enforcement office. It's nice to see all of you, and thank you to those of you that take the time to come out as well here as a person. Our agenda is available on the town website. Tonight we'll move ahead with a combined public hearing on 804 Fountain Street application for a special permit for excavation and to construct a multifamily development and a special exception modification related to the roof of the building as detailed in the agenda. In our work session, we may briefly address the 804 Fountain Street application and potential amendments to the zoning regulations, which I'll address in a few minutes. This evening at the combined public hearing, invited to speak is Mr. John Duff, who's with the applicant, interveners, and any public comment that folks might want to provide to us this evening. So thank you for that. Before we go to the public comments and having people speak, I'd like to make one comment. The commission is continuing to wait on two additional applications, responses to the application that is in. One is that we are waiting on the Woodbridge, Connecticut Fire Marshal and Fire Department response. They are still reviewing the updated materials that have been provided to them, so they have not gotten back to the commission yet, but we do expect that to happen in short order, and we are still waiting for that to come in. The next point is that we are waiting for our peer review from the town's new planning consultant, and hopefully I'll say this correctly. It is Type Planning and Policy Group, Inc. They're reviewing the set of materials that came in August, including what the applicant added to the application materials, which was the excavation request, which came in August and is now combined with the roof and the application for the building. So what that means, it's a lot of way of saying we're going to have to continue the meeting and have it again another evening. So I know a lot of folks were looking for this to begin to wrap up. Everyone's anxious to do that. But we have to do it fairly and we have to do it in the right way. We just want to make sure that all of this application is handled correctly. So what we will do is have some time for public comment, and the interveners are welcome to speak if they choose to do so. This public hearing is for the purpose of listening to your comments. You'll each have up to about 3 minutes for brief statements. If you're interested, I'll continue you for another minute. TPC members will not be answering questions that you raise. Your public statements and written comments that were submitted to the town will become part of the town record and be held in records at the TPC. As a reminder, off-the-record communication with members of the commission on the merits of the application are prohibited. And please keep your comments brief and focused on the proposed special exception permit. Try to avoid unreasonable repetition. It would especially be helpful to the commission if you have something new to say about the application that we haven't heard before. So if you did want to say something that we might be unaware of or might not already be in the public record, that would be helpful to hear. I will say we've been listening, and quite a few letters and comments have come in, and those are all part of the public record. It will be considered by all the commissioners if you work through the application. With that said, I'm going to do a little different. With that said, I'm going to ask the intervener if you would like to speak this evening, or you may say.
We're going to pass.
Okay, thank you, Shirley. Okay. So with that said, if there's any members of the public that would like to speak and address the commission at this time, we will recognize you. Please go up. I think there's a sign-up sheet. All right, and thank you very much. Just say your name and then sign in, and we welcome to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Is this on? Yes.
I think so.
Just speak directly into it if you could, please.
I live at 5 Oak Hill Lane in Woodbridge, Connecticut.
Thank you.
And I've been chatting with my son, who lives in New Hampshire.
Hmm.
He works for DOT up there. He's the water control guy for the whole state, the DOT, and does a lot of road projects. So he's the guy that I just bounce ideas off. So I mentioned to him, last time we were here, I don't know whether it was the lawyer or one of the speakers for the people who want to build 804, they indicated that the blasting and the shale from the blasting is probably worthless. And the second speaker said there might be 3,900 loads of shale created by the blasting. And what he said to me is they pay $600 a load for that kind of material. So I did the math. 3,900 times 600 is just a bit over $2 million. So just removing that from the site and selling it to whoever will buy it. So my biggest fear was that maybe this project gets the okay, starts, blast the hell out of the site, sell the shale, and go home. So I'm very concerned about putting controls on that happening, because it would be a shame to destroy the landscape as it is, because it's full of water sources and minerals and all kinds of stuff. And I just wonder whoever writes contracts can place in there that if that were to happen, I hope it would never happen. I don't approve this project at all. But if this piece of it were to happen, that money would come back to Woodbridge, Connecticut, and not be in the pocket of someone who took advantage of our pretty property over there. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Please. Oh, sir, she raised her hand right before you.
I didn't raise my hand.
No,
I'm not terrible.
No, it's okay. Thank you. Just state your name and fill out the paperwork.
Where is the sign-up sheet?
Oh.
Right in front of you.
Should be on the left.
Podium? It's not.
Oh, she's got it.
Give me a minute.
Oh, okay. I'll do it afterwards.
I'm absolutely fine with that. Thank you very much.
Okay. My name is Sigrun Gadwa.
Can you speak directly into the mic, please, madam?
There you go.
Okay. And you've seen me before. Back in May, I was one of the experts for the intervener. I continued to have basically we pretty thoroughly wrote down our concerns at that point, and I wasn't rehired, but I'm a botanist and a wetland scientist, and I'm an active member of the Connecticut Botanical Society, which is it's a society of plant scientists and botanists from all over the state, interested in plant diversity and ecology, and that group is particularly interested in plant communities in areas with really unusual geology, and also plant communities along ridge crests and on mountaintops, because those are basically islands in the landscape with minimal dispersal among them, and they're rather small populations, and they're very interesting wildflowers, grasses, rushes, and also mosses and lichens. And in the past, we've been interested in limestone ridges and trap rock ridges, also the gabbro in southeast Connecticut. But this particular site is actually the rarest type of bedrock, this green schist, greenstone bedrock that you have in the Maltby Meadowbrook, just in this corner here in Woodbridge, a little bit in West Haven, Bethany, where the Botanical Society just wants to emphasize that that there's a unique natural resource here. And the green schist, besides being splintery and of very low value, is also, it was formed under relatively low temperatures but very high pressures under the ocean. And it was with the movement of the continental plates, the pressure, lateral pressure from the continental plates made vertical planes of weakness, basically with vertical cracks or potential cracks, so that if you, I think we handed in some slides. I've got a more in-depth PowerPoint that I didn't bring today. There's a lot of, well, first of all, what happens is that these plates peel off, and then they fall down, and then they're flat on the ground. They make little caves for wildlife, and during the excavation operation, there's also the continuous threat that there's going to be, after a blast, there's going to be peeling off and falling down of all these vertical plates. And the vertical plates also, water seeps in that falls down on the top of the ridge, and it dissolves minerals in the cracks, and then it comes out at the edges. And you've never seen such large trees. There were these blueberries that were growing at the base of the outcrops, and I didn't know what they were. They weren't high-bush blueberries. They were this tall, and I keyed them out, and they actually were low-bush blueberries that are normally this tall, that were twice as tall as normal. And so it's a very interesting situation with a lot of minerals in the water that seeps through the cracks. So ecologically interesting, and there is an alternative.
Ms. Gedwell, thank you.
Yeah, I'm done.
But listen, you're passionate about these matters, and I thank you very much.
Yeah.
We have your written materials as part of the application, correct?
Not all of it. The part about I went into more detail in depth on the.
Well, my family's from Lincolnville, Maine, so on the blueberry thing, make sure you send that in, I will look at it specifically. But thank you for your time. We want to
You're
see if
welcome.
other people out as well.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Let me write my name right down.
Thank you. Please, sir.
Just in time.
Thanks very much for recognizing me. So my name is Lenny Bell. I think most of you don't know me, and I don't know most of you, although we do know a couple of each other. I've been a taxpayer for 39 years. I was previously quite active in the town, maybe 20, 25 years ago. And I was thinking, I'd written out what I was going to say, because I realized the time limit, and I was thinking of it as I was sitting there going, like, and change much what I was going to say. I think that my great concern is that I think as I reviewed online the documents and the agenda items and the minutes for the meetings, I'm very concerned that the hard diligence questions don't seem to come much from the committee itself in regard to both policies and financial decisions. And I think that's indicative of things somewhat running amok. And leaving aside what is an extremely important issue in my view, at least, which is the affordable housing component, which I'm greatly in favor of, but not at all in regard to this project. And I think is entirely misplaced, specifically in this project. I think the town has really inappropriately progressed this project over such a period of time, which I can't imagine what's happened other than it must have its own momentum, which happens in committees sometimes, I recognize that. And I think there's a consideration of very ill-conceived zoning changes. So it's not clear to me, and this is rhetorical, so of course there are not going to be exchanges here. Why would we allow a four-story, nearly 150-person facility when we don't own suitable firefighting equipment, when we potentially can't house it in what we're ready to put a large capital expense into, and when our brave firefighters are not necessarily trained for it? And all of that to unnecessarily expose our citizens to diverse and broadly enhanced safety risks. I'm thinking now about your responsibility to consider a cost-benefit analysis. I'm not clear what the benefit of this project might possibly be to the town, or anyone associated with the town, particularly current taxpayers. I understand the costs, though. The costs considering the poor and unsafe firefighting access, new, extraordinary, and dangerous non-laminar traffic flows in a high-risk location. And I don't think I've really seen a traffic assessment of that. I think that's actually poor diligence. And potentially grave environmental factors and insults, which I'm sure many of us have considered in our own properties here in town, I know over the last nearly 40 years. And I would certainly never do this here. And we've clearly been identified others this evening and at earlier times. And adding insult to injury, the town also wants us existing taxpayers to pay more for being exposed to these potential severe additional risks. So really, as I mentioned, it seems to me that strategy, or the lack of a strategy, that seems to run amok over a series of months. I don't see any discernible unique benefit to citizens of this project. All I see is tremendous financial costs and tremendous risks to citizens who live in the community, work in the community, and socialize in the community, and raise their children in the community. And I think for these reasons, it seems to me this project should never have gotten this far. I urge you to reject it expeditiously. Thank you for 3 minutes.
Thank you. Mr. Bell, for your comment. Welcome. Anyone else? A few people have walked in. Let me give some people an update that walked in the past few minutes. The meeting is going to be continued to another session because the commission is still waiting for feedback from the Woodbridge Fire Department and the Woodbridge Town Planner, who's a new planner to us. So we're continuing to wait for feedback from those two sources. So the meeting is going to be continued, but we're in a public session now. If anybody else wanted to stand up and share some comments, we'd be happy to hear from you.
My name is Amy Morella, 184 Ribbon Road. I'm here actually to present some facts of which the TVZ may not be aware. In this very room, we had the Living Treasure dinner at the end of September. On that occasion, I had the pleasure of serving with another special guest or whatever, was the title we were given as servers, and that was the fire marshal. I asked the fire marshal what he thought of the August submission of the applicant in this case. He said, "What submission?" He said he had not received anything. I was deeply concerned at that point. I brought Andrea Urbano, the Board of Selectmen member, who is also a special server, over to share so that the fire marshal could share with her his lack of information. She assured me and him that she would then make an effort to talk to our Mika and to whoever else in the town hall to urge them to actually share that information because there was a response from the applicant to what the fire department had said back in June. My latest understanding from talking to a firefighter today is that that information was not timely then given to the fire marshal. So I have no understanding of why these facts are what they are. But I think that probably, in light of the lack of information being shared with the fire marshal, there's every reason for the fire department to not have given you information. And there's a serious breakdown in a small town like ours if pieces of paper cannot be shared with a fire marshal relevant to fire department issues that have been raised in June. Thank you.
I'd be happy to address those real quick.
Got the answers for why there was such a long
Yeah,
delay?
yeah. So this, my understanding was that the fire marshal and the fire chief fully assessed the first application that came in. There were some changes that were done, I believe it was at some point in August.
Yes.
That material was provided to the town, but it didn't make it over to the fire department.
That's exactly what
I
I said.
have-
That's what
I
the fire
have-
marshal told me.
I have
At the end of September, he told me, so almost 6 weeks later, after the
So
documents had been
I
received.
have information electronically through emails that they are in possession of that material and that they're working on.
And what is the date now?
I don't speak for the fire
Well, my
department,
point is.
but I'm sure that a lot of this
it's-
will be
it's
paid attention to.
More than 2 months after the information was submitted by the applicant.
I appreciate your helpful comments and I just wanted to reply. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. Matt.
I had a fairly lengthy,
Introduce yourself, please.
Matt Giglietti, Hollywood Drive.
Sir,
Yes,
please introduce yourself.
I just did. Matt Giglietti, 14 Brightwood Drive, Woodbridge, Connecticut.
My apologies, thank you.
I had a fairly comprehensive set of remarks to say tonight, but thinking that you guys are going to vote tonight. And as Dr. Bell said very aptly, this thing just gets pushed more and more and more down the road. It's never going to end. I mean, what is taking so long to come to a decision on this thing? So I came here tonight assuming, the last I heard, you were voting tonight, yes or no. And I'm mainly here now, nothing I said, I'm here mainly for point of order, just to get on the record with this. We all know there's an election coming up in 2 weeks from tonight. Okay? And something could happen that really upsets the apple cart, and that is that the Republican Party wins, which, in my opinion, is looking very possible. If that happens, no decision has been made on this thing yet. Now we have a Republican Party ready to go into office on January 1st. We have the Democrats running the show for the last 2 months of the year. A whole lot of nightmares can come out of that. You guys can turn around and say, okay, we're gonna rule on this thing now in between the time that the Republicans win the election and then they take office. I'm just going on record as saying this could be really ugly if the election goes the way it might, and you guys are out there now, and now you can rush this thing through and vote however you want to vote to satisfy the powers to be who run this town. And I don't mean first word. So I'm just going on record as saying this is extremely upsetting to me that you're not going to make a decision before the election. And people aren't going to know where the Democrats stand. They know where the Republicans stand. They're not going to know where the Democrats stand. And so we're going to go into the election with whatever people have to assume is going to happen. And when it happens, God only knows what's going to happen for the last 2 months of the year. I know the kind of games that could be played in that short period of time. So just want to go on the record. Thank you.
Matt, I appreciate your comments, which are thoughtful. The election is obviously something that is rotating around everybody's mind. In small towns, when you have elections every 2 years, which are almost like continuous, certainly important matters can be before the commission and other commissions in town. But I'll tell you this, Matt, I will plan as under state and municipal law. All the commissioners that I know here with me, however, they go and know them very well. And they're people that will do the right thing and follow the application to its proper decision and all the corrections.
Point of order.
Yes.
We typically don't address comments, and you've done it twice.
Yeah,
So,
because- yeah.
So if we're gonna do that, I'd like a chance to know, either we should get to
Yeah.
the public hearing
Yeah.
and go to our work session, or we
Sure.
should have a discourse with,
If you would like to address someone that's speaking.
no, I think we should get to the public hearing like we've always done, and then we can have our conversation among however many people are here,
Sure.
6 people.
Sure, I'll do that in the work session. All right, anybody else? Any further comment from anybody in the public? And I think you're supposed to ask 3 times. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you very much for coming tonight. So, Chris, I have a technical question for you. Before moving into the work session, do we need to do a motion to continue the public hearing before we go to the work session, or do we?
Yeah, you need to continue the hearing
No.
before you move on to another item in your agenda.
Fine. Okay.
Right, so just
Please.
to clarify, if the intention is to make a motion to continue the public hearing, that doesn't now trigger an ability for the commission to speak in a work session on the item. Once the public hearing closes, then it's the opportunity for the commission.
So we
to
can't
discuss
have,
it.
so what our town attorney is saying is the commission cannot have a work session while the public session is still open. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean,
On this assumption.
Yeah,
Right.
on the 804 Fountain.
that's right,
Right.
correct.
All right, okay.
Do
So
we
I,
have a date for the next meeting?
yes.
That's part of what they're acting on.
Okay.
Yep, so, in order to allow, the town planners and the town fire department to effectively deal with the material in front of them, I'm going to make a motion that we continue the meeting to December 1st. The meeting in November 3rd is too fast, and both of those parties cannot get to the material in time, so I'm making a motion to continue the meeting to December. Do we have a second? Any discussion about it? Oop, oop. Oh, sorry.
Paul had his hand up.
Yeah, I've got.
Yeah, please.
Thanks. So, with all due respect.
Please.
I'm
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
upset how this has gone down. I got an email at 4:16 that we're not gonna vote anything tonight. So I appreciate the public comment, as I always do, but this does not pass the smell test to me. There was no indication prior to 4:16 PM today that we were gonna continue this beyond October 21st.
Scam.
And I've heard, here's what bothers me. Last time people came out with pitchforks, and we've done nothing to instill confidence in the public. If I was sitting on the other side of the table, I would think, what's going on? Why is this a last minute change? To me, it stinks. And I heard that there's an election in 2 weeks, and this smells, simply to my opinion, like it's election driven. I wasn't here for any private caucus meetings that you guys may have had, but this to me it's disrespectful to us sitting up here, as well as the people who are on the Democrat Party.
Come on, be respectful. You're addressing the commission,
Yeah.
you're not addressing the town.
Well,
commission.
I guess, was there caucus meetings I didn't know about? I have no idea, I'm not included in it. But I think what we're doing is wrong. And this is why the public doesn't trust what we're doing. They come out with pitchforks, we're not transparent, and all these things happen last minute. And I personally like you guys, I do, but I don't like how we're conducting business. I think it makes us look bad and the town look bad.
Okay, fair enough. What would you have done differently? Like what?
There's
hold on, Paul, let
no
me get this out.
regulation that says we have to wait for further information. We could have closed the public hearing and I didn't even see the applicant didn't even show up tonight, if I'm here. Right. So I guess I could be wrong. I'm often wrong, as I find out at home all the time. But so someone called the applicant at 4:17 and said, this is gonna be, we're not gonna talk about it tonight. I mean, what happens if the information we want on December 1st doesn't appear, right? We're now pushed to January. We set a timetable. You said it wasn't guaranteed. I agree with you. And I know you didn't ask for that job to be chair. But nonetheless, I feel like we're dragging this on. We've had meeting after meeting. At some point, close the door and let's move on.
Paul, I share your concern and frustration, and
Speak up.
I came here, I share your concern, Paul. Is this on? Is this on? Check.
You're way more soft-spoken than I am.
Check.
Just talk louder. Just yell.
Check. Okay, so, Paul, thank you. I share your concern, I share your frustration. I'm also irritated that we're not voting tonight. respectfully, I think this process has been as open as it can be within the confines of the law. I mean, we're following very specific procedures. What I would like to know that I don't think has been made clear yet is when the town transmitted that critical information to the fire marshal and to the fire department. Because I very much expected to have comments and feedback from the fire department. I mean, we got seriously conflicting information at last meeting. The applicant said, oh yeah, the fire department's fine with this. And then the fire chief stood up and said, no, we're not. So, I mean, that's quite concerning to me. Both the misrepresentation from the applicant, again, respectfully to them who are not here, but also the lack of input from the fire department. So I don't feel, we have a lot of information, certainly. I have a lot of clear signals from the people in town about how they feel about this project. They've given us a lot of reasons to decide our vote. And I really would like to hear from the fire department, because I think the safety component is a really, really important. Most people who have spoken in town have cited their safety concerns. And it was my sincere hope that we would have a more thorough analysis from the fire department about the safety concerns that have been quite eloquently articulated tonight. I have concerns about the machinery, about the access, about the elevator, and I don't feel that those concerns have been adequately addressed by the applicant. I'm hoping for more illumination rather than just sort of making a best guess in the vacuum of a clear professional opinion from the people who are going to be responsible for ensuring safety at the site. So I completely share your frustration and sort of confusion about why we're not wrapping this up. It seems like the fire department has indicated they haven't had enough time to review this information. So can somebody please tell me when the information was transmitted to the fire department?
The town did not transmit the information. That obligation is upon the applicant. The applicant did not transmit the information. The information was transmitted to the fire department after the last meeting. Last week, I sent 2 separate emails to the fire department asking for them to have their comments, if all possible, for this evening. That was in response to an email from the fire marshal and the fire chief indicating that it was Fire Prevention Month and they were busy with that and other important issues. I received no information back from the fire department, one way or the other, to either of the 2 emails that I sent.
Thank you for clarifying that, Chris.
At the last meeting, the fire marshal said he hadn't.
The fire marshal was not
received
here
anything.
at the last
Well,
meeting.
the fire chief said he hadn't received anything.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, he knew then that he didn't have this stuff. Why did they drag even after that not to send it?
They sent it to him the applicant sent it to him the following day after October 6th.
See, I think everybody also heard the applicant say last meeting, we've been in communication with the fire department, and they've indicated, sort of acceptance or agreement with our revised plans. And so that's deeply concerning. It's certainly not on you, Chris. Thank you for clarifying the timeline.
And let's not put this at the feet of the fire department, which are, loyal volunteers. This is on the applicant.
Yeah, it's not the fire.
So they're not. They shouldn't be the scapegoat.
Well, the
I
fire
don't think anybody is
marshal,
making
the fire
the
marshal
scapegoat.
is a paid
Right.
employee of the town of
But
Woodbridge.
the fire chief came and spoke with us.
Yeah.
And he said,
A couple of times, yeah,
right,
very
and he
helpful.
said, we've got fire prevention month, this is our top priority.
Yeah.
It's not on them. And frankly, there's no reg that says we absolutely need a report from the fire department. I'd love to hear from the applicant on why there's a disconnect between 2 stories. Like, someone is
Well, you'll
either
have
has
that.
amnesia or is not telling the truth.
You will have the opportunity to ask the applicant when they come back and present.
So the applicant's not offering to give me.
So, all right, so,
Excuse me,
guys, we're in a,
Commission speak.
all right, so Paul, so we have that first and second move. Did you want to say something differently or propose
No,
something
we can-
different?
we can-
I do acknowledge everything you had to say. I appreciate working with you, and I think everything you said was very helpful. Also by yourself and other commissioners, I appreciate all of your comments on that. So, may I move to a vote unless someone has anything else that they want to talk about for December?
And, sorry, why can't this happen on our November meeting?
So that would be a point on November 3rd. The town planner will have been through the material, but they can't guarantee us as thorough of an assessment of the application as they would on the 1st. December 1st is the first Monday in December. It's a regularly scheduled meeting, so we wouldn't be scheduling an extra meeting. That's the schedule.
You also have the public hearing on your POCD on November
November
3rd.
Does that time frame affect the application in terms of completeness?
Legally? Nick, you want to take that?
No, the applicant has consented to the additional extension that's being proposed here in order to allow for the comments.
Did everybody hear that?
No.
The town attorney said the applicant has consented to pushing out the date to December 1st to get our town planner to come back in with their assessment and have enough time for the fire department to respond. All right. Okay. All right, so can we vote on that motion?
Chair, can I move for the
Say that a little louder, Kathleen.
I was just advising Chair Kennedy that we needed to see alternates.
Couldn't hear that.
I believe,
Are we all seated? Are the alternates seated for the meeting?
The two alternates that are present need to be seated for Mr. Skolnick, who has recused himself from this application. We have had in the interim since our last meeting, the appointment of a full member. That full member is James Horwitz, and he was sworn in yesterday, but he indicated that he had a prior commitment for this evening's meeting, and so he would be unable to attend. Therefore, we have two full member vacancies in a sense that need to be seated for tonight. Sarah Locke would be next up in rotation. Sarah again is excused, and so in rotation is next Kathy Hunter and then Mr. Wisnia. So both Kathleen and Robert are seated this evening.
And they would be voting on the continuation.
They are voting tonight on any matters that come
Come
before
up
you
tonight.
tonight.
Okay. Chris, that was very helpful. Thank you. I know that'll be in your minutes, and thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay.
has the fire department, has the fire chief or the fire marshal given an indication of when their review will be complete? Will it be complete by November 3rd?
I don't have the answer to that question, to be very upfront about it. I did ask town council if I could just call them and ask, but I have to be very careful with, people doing that. Chris has reached out twice electronically, so we have to be a little careful about doing so.
Can I ask
Of course.
the fire marshal is an employee of Woodbridge.
Yes.
And the fire chief is the head of the volunteer fire department. So is there I'm just, in terms of their roles, I would welcome input from both of them, but I'm just not familiar with that dichotomy in terms of reviewing, applications and how, is there anything that you know of that can clarify that, how that normally works, or?
Do we have subpoena power? No.
I would defer to town council.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of how this fire department hierarchy works, so obviously the input.
I guess I'm just wondering if we're expecting a response from one or both, and if one would be sufficient, because one is, if one is a town employee, then presumably the fire department, like my daughter came in with fire, they're obviously, they're going to all the schools,
Oh.
JCC, they're doing the fire prevention one, that's her favorite thing. Pictures in the fire truck, I love it. But obviously, there's a lot going on with Halloween and everything. But I don't know if the fire marshal possibly has more. So
My
I'm just trying to-
understanding is that the fire marshal, as a paid employee of the town of Woodbridge, Connecticut, has a certain role to play with informing commissions as to their activities and safeties. And, I could be wrong, so for the record, okay? But my understanding, the fire marshal is supposed to do that.
Yeah, I guess that would be, just if there was, and it's hard to do this now because we're making a motion, for when to reschedule, but if we're trying to reschedule for November, if we could expect his response, given that the fire department, you know what I'm saying?
I would think so. I mean, that's a,
No, I'm saying if we are discussing ways to accelerate that to November, because I think all of us would like to get this input and then vote. I just don't, it's not like we're gonna get the answer from the fire marshal or the fire chief right now.
And if we're not gonna vote tonight and close the hearing, then if we're gonna delay it, let's delay it and make sure everybody's got sufficient time. Because it'd be crazy to say, we're gonna push November,
I
and
mean,
then all of
that's
a
the
sudden
other
come back and
option.
do that.
I mean, it just keeps pushing.
Right, so.
People
now-
want to resolve this.
I agree with you, Paul, and I think, you know, Mr. Giglietti, I'm sorry I didn't hear you introduce yourself. I think, you know, you made a salient point about the way in which this commission has been placed, you know, in the nexus of electoral politics in this town. I kind of resent that. I mean, we're all volunteers, you know, everybody here knows that. I'm not running for anything. I would like to see this process go forward per the rules, but also with all parties acting in good faith. And beginning to feel like we're not getting that. And if we're going to delay it until December 1st, why not delay it until our first regularly scheduled meeting in January, so that it's not something that is sort of twisting in the interim of a potential lame duck session.
You may not be there in January.
I'm a bit of a rabble-rouser. I probably won't be here regardless.
I mean, don't be appointing new boards by January 1st.
Right. Yes,
You
sir.
don't know who will be there.
But our commissions just, there's a number of people on this board who have commissions that extend.
Extend. 25.
Some will be gone. Some will have to be 25.
Also, Matt, this is way out of order, but I think people do retain their office until such time as replacements come in and so forth. So I don't know how that works. You would know, as chair of the finance committee, so many of you how that works. Okay, I really don't.
Well, they'll meet in December and pick all new people for every single board, including yours. Depends who wins, you know.
Nick, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
Yeah, just in response to Commissioner Cherry's comment, at this point, all I'm aware of in terms of consent from the applicant, because the timeline has gone on as long as it has, legally, we need consent from the applicant to continue pushing that envelope. At this point, the applicant has consented to December 1st. That's as far as they've consented.
I understand. I'm certainly not willing to voluntarily tie my hands to accommodate the applicant further. If he were here, if the applicants, I should say, if the applicant's representatives were here, he could respond to this question. He could engage in this discussion. The interveners are here. No, I'm not targeting them. They just gave me the answer. So, you know, giving a narrow, limited consent and then failing to appear, in my view, is not basis for us to say, oh, I guess we have to stick with December, guys. So, I mean, I think that, you know, I've certainly been listening to the people who've come up to speak to us. I hear their concerns. There's a new concern about the role of electoral politics tainting this application and our commission's process. I don't like that. I should say I don't like the possibility that could be true, or that idea could take hold of people's minds. And I'd like to do what we can to be as transparent as possible, to not put the matter, you know, sort of on the ballot. And I'm not certain that delaying until December is the best move.
May I ask you a question? Ben and Nicholas, you may ask the town attorney. So can the commission put forward a motion at the December 1st meeting, even if everything is not completely buttoned, that we feel we have a sufficient amount of information to make a decision at that meeting on the material, on the...
We could do that now.
Oh, down, I mean, yeah.
It's the commission's call. If
So
you
yes,
feel that you have
so on December
sufficient
1st,
information.
so to prevent it from going, I thought to bun. So at December 1st, the commissioner would have an ability to entertain a motion from a commissioner, a second discussion, possibly advance it, to then just close the meeting because we felt we had to.
On December 1st, if the commission feels it has received all the information it needs, and it has provided the applicant, who always legally gets the final say, at that December 1st anticipated public hearing, then yes, the commission is legally authorized to close the public hearing, and then that night, move into work session, have your own discussion, and then entertain a vote.
Okay, everybody hear that? All right, so this will not all go on, you know, monthly.
But
If that motion passes.
Right, but Jeff, to your point,
Yes.
but, so if we come back December 1st and we have the same, lack of information, because who knows why, we're gonna be in the exact same spot we are tonight.
No, what I'm saying, if the
I
commission-
understand, it's funny that we could possibly vote December, we can't vote tonight. I get it, I'm just making a point.
All right. And listen, I'm being very careful too.
And I'm fine voting on this motion too.
What's it?
I'm saying I'm fine voting on this motion if you want to move it along.
But I'd like to move it along, let's vote on the motion.
I'm a little more discussion.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
There's no, Mr. Valenti, am I correct that we could close this public hearing tonight and move to work session on this application?
I mean, yes. Yes.
And then the sort of rights of the applicant to have the final word.
Actually, no, let me take that back. No, you can't close it tonight. The applicant's not here. The expectation was that this was going to be continued, and that is what they expect to have their final opportunity
Well,
for.
when you say the expectation, I didn't consent to that. I wasn't part of a discussion about that. I'm a member of this commission. Who was a part of that discussion, that there was an expectation that it was going to be continued? Who made a promise on behalf of the commission that it was going to be continued?
I don't think anyone made a promise.
So then, okay, so can you clarify expectation versus reality? The reality is that the commission has the power, the authority, the obligation, the responsibility to make the decision about when to close this public hearing, when we feel that we have the necessary information to vote on the proposal. If we were to discuss amongst ourselves whether we feel that we have adequate information to close the public hearing, we would legally be authorized to close the public hearing, to move to a work session, and to vote on the proposal. Is that correct?
That is correct. However, as the acting chairman has outlined, there is, we got to today. We're still waiting on you, this commission is still waiting on fire department comments. As this commission knows, during the pendency of this application, the acting town, the retained town planner, Goldman and York, is no longer serving that role. That role has, a new consulting firm has been retained, my understanding, as of the end of September. So now the town has a new town planner. There was my understanding of the record in consulting with Christine, is that there was an initial threshold review of the application that first came in June by Goldman and York, at that time Justin LaFontaine. I looked at it myself. There was an initial memo. I think there was like an item with a punch list item that was sent to the applicant. Here's our concerns. The applicant then, again, my understanding of how this has transpired, filed revised plans, which is what the fire department has not fully seen and commented on at this point. And when looking at what's in the record, there was never a follow-up peer review by the town planner on the revised submission. So that's part of what the additional time is being sought for. What is a typical review for consistency with the zoning regulations by the planner, and then, important departmental comments.
Thank you for articulating it so clearly, but to make sure I'm not missing the point, are we legally required to wait for those reviews before we act on the proposal? We've reviewed
In my,
information.
okay, I'll say it from my legal recommendation is yes, you do wait for those. Those inform this commission's decision. The fire operational safety concerns are important part of this calculus that this commission's making. And then, I mean, normal practice for reviewing applications is to ensure consistency with your regulations. Here, there are at least 3 separate sections of your regulations that come into play. One is the multifamily use and the opportunity housing sections. 2, and then, well, those are 2, and then 3 is the excavation sections. So there's lots of different areas of the regulation that come into play for purposes of this application. And so, in my experience across the board with municipalities and commissions that I represent, there is some level of staff or consultant review of an application to line up and make those types of comments and analysis that Justin first made in this application. So legally, I mean, my recommendation is that this commission, just understanding how complicated this application is, how much information there is, how much the public is interested in this, is that the commission do this correctly and receive all of what I believe legally is important information that the commission should have before rendering a decision if the application does meet the regulations or not. Because that's ultimately what this commission is deciding.
But for the record, this is like, you're talking about a best practice, not a legal requirement.
I think it opens.
I don't know, I think that's semantics because it's a
Definitely not semantics.
Well, it's a legal requirement if this commission renders a decision that is then appealed and overturned by the court.
Anyone could appeal anything.
Yeah, but we don't have to do their work.
I understand, but to Ben's point, I just want to make sure that I'm clear. So legally, we could close the hearing tonight, legally, and we would be in our right to do that. Your recommendation as a town attorney, you're shaking your head no. But earlier you said that there was no, the continuation of the hearing, there was no vote. Like, so the applicant didn't show up. They could have shown up, we invited them to show up, they decided not to show up. But I think, and now so I'm trying to understand, so there is a legal requirement to continue it, or that's what you're advising us to do?
I'm advising that it would be appropriate for this commission to receive the additional comments that have been discussed. At this point, because the applicant is not here tonight, legally, they need the final say. So.
But they could have been here.
Yeah. Okay, right. I'm not going to debate. I'm just telling you, you asked me a
I have to
question.
debate. But let's be crystal clear on what the regs are and what you're recommending. They're 2 different things.
Okay. Can I
Sure.
finish?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Again, the recommendation is, for the sake of having a full and thorough assessment of what's in front of you, you should receive the comments. My direct opinion is that if you close this public hearing tonight without granting the applicant the ability to have the final rebuttal, you will get appealed, and that will be a losing appeal.
I can, please go there. When I received the email for whatever, my first response was, I think we should close it tonight. We have the information that, we have enough information that people can vote. But my concern is, because I would like to get past this. We'll have a work session, people will vote. I think everyone has, we want to come to a decision because it has been drawn out incredibly. It's been a long process. We've all been here. And my concern, if we vote tonight, we close the hearing tonight, I guess, I mean, even if we don't vote, if we close the hearing, is that it will just start the process again with this appeal immediately. It does seem like it's a, and you know, we may, whichever way we vote, there may be more to this application in the future, but you know, with the advice of the town council, if we are setting ourselves up that we're, then it's going to come back tomorrow and it's going to be an easy summary judgment. I'm not sure what the procedure would be, but if that is the case, and we're trusting the advice of the town council on that, and so you should bring that appropriately as you can. I don't want to see I mean, I don't know, I guess it doesn't come directly back to us, but I don't want to see immediately it come back like that. It doesn't seem like that would be in the best interest of moving forward, whichever way it goes for the town. But I agree. My first thought was we should vote tonight because this has been a long thing. We've received an incredible amount of information on all the different subjects. But that's my concern.
I agree. I'd like to follow this tonight too, but as Attorney Lamonti said, the applicant is allowed final word, and I think if we don't give them that final word,
And
we're walking
we're-
into
yeah.
a bad situation.
And while we, the commission, didn't email the applicant earlier, so, I agree that feels, your feelings about that. It wasn't we didn't have debate and say, let's, that email was communicated, and they relied on it, so, from a legal standpoint,
So let me interject in here a little bit, because I think these comments were all very helpful. But look, as I had said earlier, maybe I could have tried to cancel the meeting this evening or made sure that the applicant would be here in case this situation went like this. But I'm using a lot of caution, and I'm not the chair, I'm the acting chair. And this is a complex application with 3 different requests under a combined special exception request. We have interveners, and I'm just trying to do it carefully. But I do appreciate the points that you brought up. The only thing I give a damn about is the town of Woodbridge, Paul, all right? And that is where I am, and that's all I can do. So, who wants to, can someone vote with me for the December 1st, if you want to have more
Just I just want to make a comment, because I do
Sorry.
feel that there was a lot of information, but I do feel that the peer review is really essential, because you have to make a decision based on what's in the record. And I feel that a peer review is absolutely essential to balance, what the decision should be.
Understood.
I certainly appreciate that, and it's very reasonable, Kathy, and what you said, Aaron, is very reasonable. And Attorney Lamonti, I really appreciate your advice, and I opened my comments tonight by saying, gosh, I really like the information from the fire department, because I want to follow best practices. And I don't think the applicant's absence can be used as a tactic, or should be used as a tactic, to further, interrupt this process. So I would be quite dismayed if a court found it easy to make a decision on our actions when the applicant didn't show up to a hearing concerning, what they're characterizing as an important project. So it does not sit well with me at all that there was an a priori decision about when this public hearing would be extended, and that we were just all going to go along and get on board, and that the applicant has this ability to give narrow consent to sort of tie our hands about when the continuation will be. That does not sit well with me at all. We now have a situation in which the applicant failed to transmit important information to our fire officials, made what sounds for all the world, I'm not stating that it was a false representation, it sounded like a misrepresentation of their communication with the fire department. I don't have any record of that. I believe you asked last meeting if we could please be provided with some of that correspondence so that we could review it. And now has failed to show up to a public hearing regarding their proposal. So, we have a lot of leeway and a wide berth to exercise our judgment, as you previously pointed out, sir, about how we interpret our regulations. And it's really not feeling to me that, a developer with a representative who's not acting in good faith is going to be a good fit for this town. I'm ready to vote.
All right, all in favor say aye.
What are you voting on?
The motion, Matt, is to continue the hearing until December 1st. All in favor say aye. Any against?
Against.
Abstentions? Motion carries.
While we're in work session, I'd like to bring up the zoning regs again.
They're on the agenda, and so just one moment. So I'm
Sorry,
gonna,
okay.
yeah, so Paul, we will right
I
now.
couldn't, all right.
No, we're good, Paul.
Yeah.
Paul, give me a second. So we're moving into the work session, so that's a nice piece on our agenda. So we're in the work session now. We're not gonna have any work session on 804 Fountain Street this evening, so that's not going to happen due to the week. We have one agenda remaining under the work session, which is discussion and appropriate action regarding amendments to the zoning regulations regarding opportunity housing. Paul, I recognize you for any comment you have.
I move that we revert our zoning regulations back to the ones that were present in November of 2024.
I'll second Friday.
Yes, so that happened last time with Paul Schatz making that motion. Sarah Locke seconded that motion. I agreed to put it on the agenda for this evening for tonight, so that's now on the work session. So we have a motion to return the zoning regulations to the December 2nd, 2025.
November.
November 22nd, yeah, sorry. November 2024 opportunity housing regs as they were at that time. So we have a first, and we have a second with Dr. Cherry. Is there any discussion on that?
Yes,
And
I
please, yep. Please. You're welcome to go stand up over there.
No, that's fine. I'll try to project.
Sure.
You know, with this motion, and I understand Commissioner Schatz made this motion in response to public comment, and he said that 99.9% of the people are against this opportunity housing. I just want to implore that we have to ensure our decisions are guided by sound planning judgments and compliance with law, not by sentiments expressed in public comment. I mean, there was a reason why we made these changes in the opportunity housing, and that was because when we initially created the opportunity housing, going back in June 2021, after 4 years, we realized that there was exactly 0 developments that came out of it. And so we are compelled to be in compliance with the Zoning Enabling Act of the state, and particularly Public Act 21-20, that says that our zoning must provide for the development of opportunity housing for low and moderate income people, and that includes multi-family housing. And that's in order to promote economic diversity and economic opportunity, and to further fair housing. And so to say, you know, I feel like you're saying you want to revert back to the old regulations because you want to ensure that we have no affordable housing development, which is not in compliance with the Zoning Enabling Act. So unless you have another path forward, unless you're coming in with a, you know, another suggestion as to how you're going to be changing this opportunity housing, I don't think this is in the best interest of the town of Woodbridge at this point, given what we have going on. So I think, you know, I would really vote against this because this is not upholding the Zoning Enabling Act and what we're supposed to be doing.
Let me put a couple of things around. I'm going to have Nick maybe speak like this. I'll have Nick maybe make some comments. Let me ask something. Chris, does such a motion require a public hearing because it's a change in the zoning regs, right?
Obviously, it requires
It would,
a public
what's that?
hearing. As I told you at last month's meeting, any change to your zoning regulations requires a public hearing You have to have a finding that it's in conformance with your town plan. It also has to go to the Council of Governments for review. Because it has to go to the Council of Governments, and they have insisted that you comply with state statute, and you give it to them at least 35 days in advance of your public hearing, you have to set a hearing date, which should be a hearing date in accordance with your motion, I would think, for when you're going to have a hearing on this. And so that needs to, you can't assume it's not going to get to their meeting this month. So the earliest meeting it would be in December, which would then kick this off until January. So as I mentioned to you last week, the last time you discussed this, if you do this, most likely the earliest date you would have would be your January meeting for our public hearing to be compliant with what the Council of Governments is asking for the opportunity to comment on your zoning regulations.
Understood. So, did you want to speak before me?
No.
I might be speaking.
No, go ahead.
All right, so my view on this would not to be to have the opportunity housing language necessarily revert to the previous language, but to have a more in-depth look at that language specifically and that section, so that we could have a little more trust in the town with how we look at that section, have a little more input from some outsiders or maybe some different attorneys, have input from the commission and our town attorney to see if that opportunity housing section can be written in such a way that there's maybe a little more consensus to it, or that we can look at what other towns are doing, but to maybe make revisions of it to improve it. So my view is not, Paul, to just do a reversion, okay? But maybe to look at it and spend some time looking at it as a commission with some other experts or our town attorney or others, rather than, Paul, just go back to it. So my view is to revisit it, have a public hearing on it, and also to listen to some attorneys talk about differences that other towns use, and also to tell the commission what is applicable for state statutes, which I have no idea. Okay, so so that is something that I would be open to. So, Paul, do you want to comment?
So first, one, I never said 90, whatever Kathy quoted me on, that's just fiction. I never said that. I support opportunity housing. I support diverse housing. What we did in December was we took an application. The applicant gave us the zoning reg change. We didn't do it, and we actually lowered affordable housing in the change. We didn't increase it. We lowered it. Jeff, I agree with you totally, and I'm fine. I would fully support going back and making this what it should be.
And us having these arguments, Paul, go ahead, please, go ahead. Yep.
One is that between now and then, I'm not willing to roll the dice that 6 developers aren't going to come in, buy land while the reg is what it is, and get those applications through. If you support what we're talking about, then we should revert back and take our time and do this thoughtfully. We can hire a consultant, we've got a town attorney, there's plenty of people who can weigh in.
But Paul, I think this has to go to scribe.
So what?
But I mean, it will take some time, even without doing the process, it'll take a while.
Right, but if we don't revert back to initially, if we revert back, we're looking at, I'm making this up, January, right? If we take our time and do it, it's next summer. So if I'm a developer, I'm like, oh, I've got X amount of months to get my land, and let's do the right thing. I never said 99.99% of people don't want whatever you said. I never said that. And you can check any minutes you want or any YouTube. Never happened.
Paul,
I fully support opportunity housing. I fully support affordable housing.
Paul, I will not slow walk it, but I prefer my approach. I know that it seems burdensome, but on the record in front of the town, I'm telling you now, I will push it quickly.
You can't push it quickly, and we shouldn't push it quickly.
Because
it should be thoughtful.
But it's not thoughtful just to revert it quickly.
Well, we changed it quickly.
I feel like, Paul, that we should for opportunity housing that fits what we want in the town. And I agree that if we don't do that, we're gonna have these regulations that a lot of people aren't happy with out there for months. And I think it'll go way beyond next June by the time we get it done. I think we should pass this motion and try to get it reverted, and then, in this meantime, work on new regulations that we're all happy with.
And I think it's worth pointing out that there's no, I'm not aware of any transactions or proposals that are sort of in the mix that would be jeopardized by changing our regulations now. And furthermore, is either of you making the assertion that reverting the regulations would cause us to somehow be doing something not in compliance with state statute? Because those were the regulations for 4 years. I never heard any assessment or suggestion that our planning and zoning regulations were not in compliance with state statute, prior to December 2nd of last year.
The reason why we changed our regulations is because since 2021, we didn't have any housing developments come through, and it was determined was that the components of the existing opportunity housing didn't help, was not conducive to financially underwriting a market rate development with set-asides for affordable housing. And this is why we started looking at how could we tweak our regulations in order to promote affordable housing, since our existing opportunity housing was not promoting affordable housing. And that's why we had, Chairman Klee had suggested, well, come in with some recommendations for how you would change it to determine, it was based on how it would be able to be underwritten and be financially feasible. And I have to say, a lot of towns have their zoning regulations changed because developers do come in and propose the changes. So this is not like a new thing. A lot of towns do change their zoning regulations based on recommendations of developers in order to allow a development. Because it's real, it's like, boots on the ground to be able to come in with a development that could be financially underwritten based on the different changes in the bulk requirements. And so by changing it from 15 units per acre to 18 units per acre, by increasing it by 1.5 stories, by decreasing the affordability, and just to explain, there's a lot of towns that have affordability requirements that are in the 10%, 12%, because that makes it able to underwrite this type of development when you're having set-asides of affordable housing in a market rate development. 20% bifurcated between 60%, 80% is high, and it makes it very difficult to underwrite a market rate development. And so this is why we changed it. We changed it in order to promote development. And this is how, things happen in other towns. And that's why they're able to promote affordable housing development. But to turn it back, to say, effectively, it's like we're turning this back so we don't have, so we're not able to promote affordable housing. And I know that's not what you're saying, but if that's the way it's going to look, and I'm not sure whether or not, even like SCROG would even approve something like this when they're trying to promote affordable housing throughout the region.
And Kathy, nobody's arguing against affordable housing up here. I haven't heard one person argue against it. What we're saying is, at least some of us are saying, is that what we did it quickly, we did it at the behest of a developer and an attorney, and it wasn't done thoughtfully over time. And I just note, I'm not trying to be argumentative, but when this came up, the last time this came up, the repeal of the zoning regulations from Stephen Mason, you recused yourself. You said that in abundance of caution, you're choosing to recuse yourself from this action on the subject application. So I don't understand why, if you recused yourself back then, you're having a conversation now about it.
just to be clear, the town is under a lawsuit with this matter, so I am being very careful about what I say. I don't think there's anything wrong, Paul, with her having an opinion
No,
about the motion.
but I'm saying, but you accused yourself last time because there was something that you were conflicted with. Or do I get, unless you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not trying to be argumentative.
This is the motion that's being made by the commission. This is not an application to turn down the zone. This is two different matters.
No, Stephen Mason wanted to revert back to the November regulations, just like I made the motion. That's all I'm saying. So when you recused yourself back then, you must have felt conflicted on something, or else you wouldn't have recused yourself.
I accused myself out of abundance of caution because of the conflict I had with Kathy Wick and Amy Morella, who filed an ethics statement, ethics complaint against me because of my, predisposition for affordable housing and my corrupting influence on the town. So I wanted to disclose that because they were presenting the application, the application that was sponsored by United for Woodbridge, and so I wanted I wanted to disclose that fact that they're here, with an application that was being sponsored by United for Woodbridge, and I wanted to disclose the fact that they had in fact filed an ethics complaint against me for my role in trying to promote affordable housing in Woodbridge. And that is the reason why I want to disclose that, and at the end, I felt it was better for me to recuse myself in order to preserve, the decision.
Thank you, and I agree that it was a right thing to do because even the optics of it were poor. And it was, I don't see, I'm sorry, and I'm looking at the minutes, I see Stephen Mason, I don't see, I'm sorry, I don't see Amy Morella or Kathy Wick's name listed anywhere.
And Kathy Wick signed the check for the application. It was
For the amendment to the zoning regulation.
She signed the check for United for Woodbridge, her as being in charge of United for Woodbridge.
Thank you.
She signed the check for the application.
Okay, thank you.
And I think we call the question and vote on it. I feel that we go back to these regulations that were there since 2021 and then start to work on what we feel are improvements, but are not things that generally would
Sure.
objectionable with the current regulation.
So just to clarify on that, we cannot approve that tonight. We would have to schedule a special exception hearing and a public session.
But we have to vote on the motion, right? Don't we? We have a motion.
You have to vote on the
We have
motion.
to
Can
vote
you
on the
weigh in
motion.
on this?
We'll do it.
Yeah, if the commission wants to, on its own volition, propose an amendment to the regulations, effectively returning it, as Commissioner Schatz has moved, to what it looked like prior to the December 24 amendment, then yes, the board would have to move, and there would have to be a vote to initiate that zoning text amendment, which then triggers the process that Chris outlined before in the time.
We have that motion on the floor. We have the motion.
Is that the motion that we have on the
Yeah,
floor?
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
understand it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe Paul's out.
I feel like I'm a baseball or football commissioner when you say Commissioner Schatz.
I
Or
mean-
Commissioner Gordon, I'm a big fan of that one. So yeah, that's my motion, yes. And that's our discussion here.
Yeah, that's what we're discussing, so we have to vote on it.
All right, any further discussion?
Aaron.
No, I mean, I'm not sure, it's hard to, I also agree that we should have a deliberative conversation about it. It's hard because any conversation about the opportunity housing is gonna necessarily talk about the application at Aylesbury Fountain, and we can't talk about the merits of that. I mean, I think
We're not
that,
gonna talk
because it's, at least in my opinion, it seems like we made the zoning change, and this application came in on the piggyback on that, and there's obviously been, there was opposition to the zoning change when we made it, and there's opposition to the Airport Fountain, and I think talking about how we can have effective opportunity housing, and avoid people's concerns about 804 housing, 804 Fountain would be like the things that I want to say about this regulation involve 804 Fountain, and how it relates, how our regulations are, can be used to build housing, and what has happened with this project that the commissioners may like or dislike, that was because of the zoning change. So, but I guess which is why I was hesitant talking, because if we have to go to Scrog and then we're scheduling in this July, we're gonna make a decision on 804 Fountain anyways. Maybe I'm just rambling, I apologize. That's when we talk about it, I'm not gonna be able to not talk about 804
Well,
Fountain.
you're not gonna have to talk about it until we get to the
You're right,
hearing.
that's why I'm here. I just want to bring that up there.
And again, nobody here I've heard anyway, I could be wrong, I'm not speaking for anyone, but nobody here has ever said they were against opportunity affordable housing.
Understood.
We all know the state
We
regs, right?
want to do it
Yeah,
right.
of course.
And the
Be
attorneys
thoughtful.
have to, look, if there is a lawsuit that's pending against the town, I'm just, related to this, okay? I'm not speaking about that tonight, okay?
Because you're not an attorney, tell us that, or
I
a
can
paid
pretend,
spokesperson.
I can pretend, but our
So,
attorney's over here. But, we can, well, I would probably vote against a motion to return the regs to that date, but I would vote in favor of a motion to completely re-examine, or is it section 3.4.e? So I would vote in favor of scheduling a special exception hearing or some sort of a hearing to start discussing those sections of the regs. That I'm in favor. I'm not in favor of voting tonight for a reversion.
We would not, no reversion would be affected tonight. It would just simply trigger the process of having a public hearing on the question of reverting to the pre-December 2024 regulations. We had an opportunity in December 2024 to change the regulations more narrowly in a way that would allow the Fountain Street project to proceed. I specifically voiced my sort of hesitancy to make sweeping townwide changes precisely because I did not fully understand the full scope and ramifications of making a townwide change. That became much clearer to me at the subsequent meetings when people of the town did, I won't say their job, but fulfilled their civic duty to come and share their points of view so that I, a member of this commission, could become enlightened and better at what I'm doing as a volunteer commissioner here. And that is to say, the changes were overbroad. There's not. Paul has said it, and I will reiterate it. I am a proponent of opportunity housing. I understand what you're saying about Kathy. I mean, you made the point well, and I think it was made well in December of 2024 that as they existed at that time, at least that applicant, that developer, gave us a fairly coherent breakdown of why they were financially prohibited in that current environment or in this current environment. I don't think that information or that kind of financial calculus is static. I mean, we saw how dynamic building costs were, sort of, in the midst and the wake of the pandemic. So those types of things change. But what we do know is that we made a change to the zoning regulations that opened the door for a type of development that people in town have said very clearly that they would find to really trample on the character of the town in a way that's quite sincere. It has nothing to do with being against opportunity housing.
Right, I'm just gonna push back because as part of our role as planning and zoning commissioners, we have to plan for the needs of people in the town as well as people in the region. And we do have a serious need for affordable housing in the town. So, the point is when we did this opportunity housing, it was really for a very limited area. It wasn't wide sweeping. It was for areas that were not in the public water supply watershed. So you cut out 70% there, and it has to be served by public water and public sewer. So you're really talking about a minute area where you have access to public water and not infrastructure.
As a percentage of land in town, I agree it's a relatively small percentage, but if you look at the map that I have to say United for Woodbridge circulated, and
United for Woodbridge.
and I asked our now fired town planner to please verify and create his own map so that we could have a look at it, so we could understand, is this really the truth? I mean, those are important arteries and veins all throughout town. And so I think even if it's, as a percentage of the total land mass, a smaller number, it really is a strikingly substantial portion of the most meaningful parts of the town. So I just don't think that, the planning was really there. I'm admitting my relative ignorance at the time that I voted in favor of that, after expressing my maybe preference to do it in a more limited way. So I would say now I'm seeking to take a mulligan, to blink, and I articulated that at the meeting where we voted on the amendment application, and I don't think it's too late to do that. And I absolutely support a thoughtful conversation about how we could do this, and I think that should be the next thing on the docket. And I wish that that we have the time and experience and resources to come with a ready-made, we the commission, to come with a ready-made replacement for the December 2024 amendment that would allow people to feel like we are moving in the direction of promoting opportunity housing. But I think that particular action was a step too far, and I'd like us now to just step back and look carefully before we proceed.
So I guess the only thing that I would say about that is, can we, Paul, would you amend your motion? You might say no, but would you amend your motion to include more of a broader look at this, or are you going to assist the motion that you put out that's out your laws? Like, if you want to vote on it, I'll put it to a vote and just amend it. But I would ask you to amend your motion to include a broader look at it so we can get the language.
I think that's two different motions. Yeah, I think we should vote on this one first, and then we can decide how we want to move forward after that. I think that's the most appropriate thing to do.
And Mr. Acting Chairman, I think it would be within your purview to put on our agenda for a subsequent meeting, within the limitations of a reasonable amount of time for each night. To study this directly, because we've heard a number of potential alternate approaches that were presented by, for example, the applicant. The applicant for the amendment to revert the change that we made. So I don't think this is a binary choice. I don't think it's sort of what we have now or what we had then. I agree with what I think I'm hearing, which is there should be a way forward, and I think there can be a third way forward.
I do think with having a planner on board, as we move forward, we could revisit this.
Yeah.
I do, again, reverting back. I think it sends for the town of Woodbridge, particularly, we are in a lawsuit for exclusionary zoning. I think it sends a bad message that we're going to revert our zoning amendment back to where it was. And it sends the message, because we know, we have proven that has resulted in no affordable housing. So it doesn't do anything to promote housing.
Yeah, that lawsuit was filed long before we made the zoning.
Right, I'm just saying it sends a bad message, and and if there, the fact that there was a development, I think that's a good thing. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to promote housing. The fear of that there's going to be a whole bunch of developments that are going to sneak in before we have a chance to change that. I don't.
We have a chance to change it now.
All right, so listen, let's do this. So there's a motion, all right? There's a motion, so I'm going to put it to a vote in favor.
Speaking of lawsuits, it might give Mr. Mason the opportunity to withdraw his, and it might make everybody a little bit happier to not have to litigate, that in addition to the open communities suit.
All right, so we have a motion by Paul, seconded by Dr. Cherry to
I'd like to make an amendment to the motion.
Oh, okay.
I believe that's within order. So I'd like to amend the motion as stated to begin the process of making an amendment to the zoning regulations so that they may be changed to the pre-December 2024 regulations, and to then directly refer the matter to our town planner so that we can begin the process in earnest of supporting opportunity housing under a third future set of zoning regulations.
Is that what you said in that?
He said it a little different, but
And I'll accept your amendment.
I'll accept it.
So we seconded.
Well, I have to accept it because I made the motion.
Good.
But you're a doctor, and I'm just a low nothing.
All right, you're a
Two
business-
doctors.
So we have a businessman and a doctor making motions. Can we get the town attorney
You
to
have
weigh in on
to,
this?
you have to move, make a motion.
Can't.
You have to.
I moved to amend the
Wait,
motion on the
wait.
table.
Wait, Chris has the floor.
Wait,
Chris has the floor.
I believe, and Nick will clarify me if I'm wrong, that you have now got a motion to amend. And before you can vote on the original motion, you now have to take a vote on the motion to amend.
Correct.
Am I
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
And is that the motion, just motion to amend, or is it? to-
It's the motion that was
It's-
made by Mr. Cherry
Then
to do, let me finish.
I will.
Okay, no lollipops.
No fighting on my commission, Chris.
It's okay.
All right.
I've got the lollipop
All
in
right.
hand. So, Mr. Cherry has said that he would like to go back, and as part of that, to then engage, and I'll go back into the transcript to make sure it says it right, to begin the process with the new town planner to review a third way forward regarding opportunity housing.
Exactly, thank you.
So a vote in favor of this amended motion moves this process ahead, but it's not approved because we have to have the public
No,
hearing.
I think
It's
no.
getting you to a motion to schedule a hearing. You're acting on the amendment to the original motion.
Right.
And then you have to act on the amended motion itself.
Two votes.
Correct.
Two votes.
Okay, so two votes.
One vote is to accept the amendment, and then the next vote is to vote on the motion.
Correct.
My motion, that was amended by them. So we have to vote to accept the motion first,
Accept the amendment.
I'm sorry, accept the amendment, and then simply accept the amendment, and then the second vote will be on the overall motion moving forward or not. So first
And
of all,
that, can I just jump in
Please.
quickly? And that second vote, if this first vote on the amendment is approved, the second vote, if that is also approved, will trigger two actions really. One is the zone change the text amendment process to revert, and on a parallel track, engage with the planner to then, I mean, it's not gonna start, I mean, unless you, I mean, we can clarify it now. Do you want to set up a public hearing on a reversion, and then also set up a public hearing with the planner on some other, or is it just this other potential third path is gonna be more of a conceptual discussion? I mean, it's for you guys
the
to
latter,
clarify.
yes, it's the latter.
I think we just like the input of the new town planner.
Agreed.
Okay.
There we go.
So that's the first and the second motion. Any final discussion?
I'm not voting.
I only do what you tell me to do, Chris,
Oh,
so
yeah.
just to be clear, you really want to.
No, I don't. I don't live here.
I understand. All right, so, anybody in favor say aye?
This is the amendment that I proposed, right? So, yes, I am in favor.
Aye. I'm gonna vote in favor.
Kathy's in there.
Yeah, and you're, aye.
So 5-2. Now we vote on the real motion.
All right, go ahead.
Aye.
It's been made.
Aye. Aye.
Now we have to schedule.
Now you're gonna, if you're gonna confirm that you're gonna do this hearing at your regular meeting in January.
Dr. Chair. Correct the record.
I'd rather be Mr. Chair.
Dr. Chair.
I'd rather be Mr. Chair.
Have you watched the show?
Excuse me, Paul, people are speaking.
Oh, I thought we were
You're
done.
very
I'm sorry.
important.
My sincerest apologies.
We have to schedule, there's a motion to schedule the
Yeah.
public hearing.
Okay.
Or I'll make a motion, to schedule the public hearing in
It would be for January
First meeting in
5th.
January, right?
January 5.
Yes.
I'm in favor. Is there first and second on that?
Commissioner Rizzo,
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So you've got a hearing on January 5th.
All right, with all that said, that appears to conclude our business this evening. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.